I don't like being pointed at, Ben. I think that's very rude.
I use my thumb.
Yeah, and I know where your thumb's been.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, everybody, welcome.
Hi.
I bid you welcome once again to the greatest podcast in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, on High Street. That's right. We're talking about...
It's a big list.
That's a big list. And that might not even be accurate, to be quite honest. Who knows? But I'm saying it. I'm claiming it. And this podcast is called Talk 80's to Me. And we are back. And I'm happy to be back. We took some time off, and one of our guests is getting comfortable here, readjusting everything, including his testicles. Right? You good?
I think the parents are watching.
No, no, but parents don't watch this stuff.
They just don't understand.
They just don't understand. Will Smith represent. Hey, this is episode 11, by the way. 11. If this were dog ears, it'd be yelling at us to get off its lawn. Right?
Man.
And episode 11, Chip has been in 2 of them. Ben has, unfortunately, been in all of them.
Reluctantly,
against his will. I got pictures of him in a water buffalo. That's all I'm saying.
Nice.
That's why he's here.
Him and B. Arthur.
Yes.
at the same time.
And he thought B. Arthur was the water buffalo.
Nope.
Yeah. Hey, now wait. Let's not disrespect the Golden Girls.
No.
R.I.P. They're all dead, aren't they?
I think so.
I think all of them died.
I don't look at me.
Betty White was the last one to hold on, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Renee Uritt at the office. She would know.
Oh, yeah?
Know. Oh, yeah. You know Renee?
Yeah, I know Renee. We know Renee.
Oh, yeah.
Renee Uritt, shout out. Yeah, she worked with McMillan Photography, right?
She sure did. Mm-hmm. She did the photo booth, I think.
Yes.
Or the kissing booth, one of the two. I don't know.
And by the way, I haven't even introduced our guest yet, and they're already chatting on the microphone. You're probably going, who the heck are these guys? So let's do that. Again, I am your host, Steve Barrett. I'm happy to be back. To my left, as always, is the guy who makes it all happen. The sound guy, the computer guy, the camera guy.
The eye candy.
The eye candy, the hottie on the panel every week. No offense, guys. Everybody say hi to Ben McMillan. Hi, Ben. Good to see you, man. And I got 2 guests to my right. Let's go far right. And this is the man who's been back here before. His name is Chip Guesman. Everybody say hi to Chippy. Come on.
Hi, Chip.
Nice to be back, Steve.
Yes. Last time Chip was here, we talked about 80s sex comedies.
We did.
And I watched just about every one since then that we talked about.
I've been working on the list also.
Yes.
We may need to revisit that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to revisit that.
I, for one, enjoyed watching the Bikini Car Wash Company's trilogy.
You're welcome.
Yes, and that's all because of you. But I did watch them out of order, and I got very confused with the plot, so I'm going to have to go back.
It's a lot to.
Yes.
It's like Pulp Fiction. You really got to.
I'm thinking Godfather, 1, 2, 3, right?
It's yeah.
To my immediate right is a Talk 80s to Me rookie. I dare not use the word virgin because he might be offended by that. But, I mean, you're not a virgin, are you, Evan?
No.
No, okay.
Not since.
He is a Talk 80s to Me rookie, and he has, man, like Chip, like Benton, pretty much like everybody who's ever been on this show, I have had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time, and my God, Evan. Evan Williams, by the way, is his name.
How's it
Everybody
going,
say hi to Evan. Just to give people a shout out, Evan and Evan's family, my family go back, man. Long
Late
time.
70s, probably.
Late 70s,
First
yes.
Presbyterian Church. Yeah.
Yes. And you and my brother were buddies hanging out all the time.
We would.
Never drinking or, doing anything
Never
bad.
doing anything wrong. It was,
Right. You were a clean-cut Christian.
A preacher's kid, and, we'd come
Yeah.
hang out in your basement and watch. You had, like, a Showtime back then.
Yeah, well, yeah, we watched the Brady Bunch all the time.
Never watched those. No.
Never watched those movies that starred Shannon Tweed or,
Or we're squiggly.
Humanoids from the. I remember
Squiggly.
watching Humanoids from the Deep.
Humanoids
in your
from
basement.
the deep.
Yep.
See, we had this really cool thing going on, Ben, back in the day where we would gather around the old TV in my dad, the preacher's basement. Be a bunch of us, and some of us would be pretending to smoke. I mean, hiding cigarettes and not drinking beer while my parents were upstairs, and we'd watch some of the worst low budget, god awful, awesome horror movies.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was another one.
Yes. It was great.
Then we get some Balsamo's pizza.
Balsamo's pizza.
He had a DeLorean.
Good. Yes.
And a, well, anyway.
Well, let's not. Yeah, let's not
go
go
there.
there. There may or may not be mob connections, so let's not talk.
But
any
he
further
gave us
about
free
that.
pizza, and he let us play. He had the greatest video game.
Oh my God! Do you remember the greatest video game you ever had?
Tempest,
Tempest was great.
Gorf,
Gorf.
Battlezone.
Battlezone.
If there was a new video game, he would have it.
Right.
And he loved us hanging out there.
He
man.
did.
Yeah.
He loved it. And he had that old classic, like, New York style
Yes.
pizza, the real long slices, the awesome
Kind
stuff.
of like Casa Capri is today. I like Casa Capri.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's
Good pie.
You could edit that out.
Yeah,
We'll change that.
by
Pizza
the way,
Hut.
we should have told you this ahead of time. We don't edit, so you better watch what you say there,
So
Buster.
this is live.
This is live.
Awesome.
This is live on recording.
Yeah, I don't.
Just like-
he doesn't
yeah.
pay me enough to edit anything.
Yeah,
so-
we don't edit. So if you say something that you regret
know.
later, it's all on you, buddy.
This is great. This whole place is so fancy. It's
All right, just don't tell anybody where we are.
It's just like I imagined. it would be.
Undisclosed location.
Yeah, right.
We don't want the mad legion of fans to find out where we are and stampede.
Should have blindfolded him when we brought him in.
Yep.
The wheels will be missing off my van.
Yes.
Yeah, just look for Chip's van, and you might know where we are.
So I got to tell you, man, we got a really good topic today.
A great one.
We've actually covered some pretty cool stuff in the first 10 episodes, ranging from 80s WWF to underrated horror films to early 80s metal to hair metal to everything in between. We've talked the Blues Brothers. We've talked the Fall Guy. We've talked weird news stories. That everything, I mean, a lot of stuff that's happened in the 80s. And surprise, I mean, we've talked about MTV from here and there. We brought it up. MTV, that stands for what, Ben? What does MTV stand for?
Moist TV.
Moist.
You
We're
put me on
not
the
allowed to
spot.
say that word on here. I hate that word. That's a creepy word.
Moist.
Moist.
That's the best I got. Sorry.
All right, that's all right. 1981, August, right? Evan?
August 1st.
August 1st. A new channel called Music Television, also known famously as MTV, launched in America. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The beginnings, the not so humble beginnings, and the explosion of everything that came with the beginning of MTV.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Like you said, it launched August 1st, 1981, which makes it this year going to be 42 years old, which is really bizarre. And I was telling Chip on the way up here, I got a really good book, and I forgot it.
Of course you did.
And I got a picture of it, though. I mean, it's just a good book. It's called I Want My MTV. I bought it on eBay for $4.
Wow.
It's a real thick book. It has like 400 pages in it, but it's really fun reading. It goes into conversational style. It talks to artists, everybody. So
I'm pretty sure Ben hasn't read 400 total pages of
But-
a book in his life yet.
It's
so.
a good, fun read. But they launched it August 1st because that was summertime. And they did some research, and they said that that's when summer fads took hold.
Right.
And the kids were still out of school, so they wanted this to be big. So, like you said, they launched it, and they used – do you remember those days? Because you're a little bit younger.
Came back.
Oh, hi.
Oh.
So where were we?
We've
And then
been
MTV
gone for
was
so
done.
long, we forgot where we were.
That is the first time that's ever happened.
Then they
Shot right back
Train
on.
stopped,
Okay.
and it came back online.
Okay.
So, didn't mean to interrupt your story.
But no, that's what happened. And
So
then-
Neil Armstrong, that's what we were. That's what
Yeah.
where we.
So they wanted him to say one small step for man and then the whole thing, but he wouldn't allow it.
Right.
So they just used that video with him jumping off because it was public domain and that flag. They couldn't decide on a single logo to use, but they
Right.
liked that M with the TV spray painted. So they just used all of them. And that's why it flashed so much.
Yeah, do you remember the beginning on the moon, and it would be like leopard skin, and then pink,
Yep.
and then blue,
pink and then blue.
red.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
said that they played that 75,000 times a year because it ran at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
And they say they still use it, but I haven't watched MTV probably, I don't know when.
There's no way. If you told me to turn MTV on right now,
Couldn't find it.
I don't even. Is there an MTV?
There is.
There
there
is.
a channel that?
But they really need to take the M out of it. They should just call it TV.
I
They
because
joke and they
there's no
say the M
music.
stands for money. After
Yeah.
the Real World came out, the artists were saying yes.
Well, and it's all Jersey Shore and all that garbage, you know. But and then there's an MTV too, right? Or there was. I don't know if there still
I don't
is.
know if it's still there.
Right. And then I know there's been like MTV Spanish and MTV. I mean, it
Telemundo.
marketed and kind of blew up all around the world too. So different channels.
Yeah,
But
so,
but
now-
in the beginning,
it's said, and now I don't know how true it is, but when they first launched, they had 167 videos. And of those 167 videos, they said Rod Stewart comprised 30 of them. Now, I don't know if
Wow.
that's hyperbole or not, but I remember seeing an awful lot of Rod Stewart
oh yeah,
videos on there.
absolutely.
Because videos back then, that's a great book. Like I said, I Want My MTV.
I'm gonna have
if
to
I
check
had
that
it,
out. I didn't even
opened
know
up
there was a
like
book
Johnny
about the
Carson. But it's a great
We
book.
could show it on the
Yeah, and I wanted to do that.
Well,
really
if Ben
badly.
would actually be cool and edit after post edit,
could
we
be-
could
No.
throw the
Right.
book cover in there.
But no,
Give
in
me a
my-
raise. I'll take a raise.
He doesn't get paid enough.
I just have it in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers here.
That's okay.
That's a Rush Limbaugh quote. Anyway,
Is he still alive?
no, not
All
really.
right, I was just curious.
But yeah, the 167 videos, and they said nobody made videos back then, and they made videos if an artist had a new album out, right? And
Right.
they would send that overseas if that artist wasn't touring. So they just got these videos and they were free, and MTV just played them basically, and that's what.
There's the MTV police coming for us right now.
Uh-oh. Is that copyrighted? Maybe we're not allowed to say MTV.
I don't know.
But I'll tell you what we are allowed to say. I forgot the sponsor.
I knew that was coming.
And we are allowed to say Apex Giant, by the way. Say it with me, guys. Apex Giant.
The wallet.
The wallet.
It's what you want.
This is what we're talking about, man. Apex Giant is a great company that makes what we like to call the minimalist wallet, what they like to call it, actually, and we like to call it that, too. Great product. It holds a bunch of credit cards. It holds your money. It's compact. It's easy to transport. You can put it in your front pocket, never have to worry about your back pocket getting picked. You don't have to worry about your back and your spine hurting from a ridiculously huge wallet.
George Costanza wallet.
Yes, absolutely right. And it's a great product. I have one, and I strongly recommend it. Made here in the USA, in the proud confines of Greene County, Pennsylvania. Got a lifetime warranty. It's awesome. Check it out, www.apexgiant.com.
100% sustainable.
100%.
No, not quite.
99.9%.
Not quite. Lifetime warranty. though.
Lifetime warranty.
Well,
though.
who needs sustainability when you got lifetime warranty?
And I also we jumped right into this, Evan, because you got us so this is great. You got us so excited about this, and you just kicked in. We also forgot to talk about beer. What are you guys drinking here tonight?
Evan's beer.
Evan's beer.
It's my favorite beer. The beer that Evan buys.
That's Lord Chesterfield's ale.
Wow.
It's got a guy with a powdered wig on it, so you know it's
It's a Yingling product.
It is. It's an unknown.
You know
Yingling
what?
product.
Hold on a minute.
There seems to be some sort of emergency unfolding.
There's a
outside.
melee up here.
Something. There we go. Do
Here, you got to sample that here.
you want some?
Why don't you pour some of that in here, and Ben and I are going to
I
have
will warn you, nobody likes Lord Chesterfield's ale except me.
Whoa.
And that's kind of why I drink it, because then nobody takes it.
That actually makes sense.
It really does.
That is not an easy task to pour beer into.
In a Dixie cup.
Dixie cup.
In Dixie cups. We have officially spilled beer on the table.
That's
wants
long
another one.
overdue.
Pour that in there.
That's a
Wait,
lot of head.
Jode's been on here how many?
Hey, now we're just drinking beer.
Jode's been on here how many times, and that's the first beer to get spilled on this table. Come on, man.
Well, I spilled $400 bourbon all over Jode's pants,
Okay. Well, that makes up.
but
for it.
none of it made the table.
I'm drinking a Southern Tier IPA. I feel a little bit refined. I went the refined way with the button-down shirt. And
I do. I like it. You are officially, by the way, the best dressed guest we've ever had up here.
Johnny Clemick had a button-down shirt on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But,
Yeah. For some reason, though, I'm liking this look.
well,
Maybe
I could take this off.
maybe it's
I
because
got
you're
a
so
t-shirt.
close to me that maybe you're just oozing machismo, and it's right next to me.
It's much cheese.
Oozing. Hey, let's do
sample
a
it.
toast.
Toast.
Evan, Chip, Ben, let's do this. All right.
To the podcast in the 80s.
That's not bad.
It's okay. Yeah, it's England's
pretty good.
forgotten brother.
It's good.
That's
primer.
pretty good,
First-
actually.
Okay.
What is that called again? The Worcester? What is it?
Lord Chesterfield.
Oh, okay. Lord Chesterfield. And it's a Yingling
it
product.
sure is. Look.
It really
Turn
is.
it around. You can see the guy in the wig.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right.
That's
Well, thank you.
that's
This is
a PA.
actually refreshing.
A PA
I showed Timmy Reeves that beer a couple years ago, and then he just started buying it exclusively.
Nice.
He liked it so much.
I'm not going to lie. Who was it? Who was it?
Tim E. Reeves.
Tim Reeves. We've had him up here.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
not
I saw
bad.
him.
Good guy. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Ben and I will admit we've drank some pretty awful stuff as far as we're concerned.
That might be the
Connoisseurs-
best out of everything
Yeah.
we've tried up here.
I agree. I mean,
pretty
we've
nasty
had
stuff.
We actually last podcast we had somebody bring up Evan Williams.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's terrible.
People like
It was.
people will come up to me and say, "Hey, guess what I found?" And
Yeah,
I say,
is that
"Oh."
named after you? I'm sure you get that a lot.
It's like, really?
But listen, between the two, you're the Evan Williams that we're happy to have up here. Let's
Thank you.
put it that way.
Thank you.
All right. So
All right.
toast and then sponsor out of the way. We were talking about I got some notes, but if you want to keep going
Well,
here.
I'm going to start off with this real quick, and then we can go from there.
All right.
MTV was so cool because, it launched August 81, right? Before that, our entertainment consisted of turning on an FM radio and listening to WDVE or laying on your family's floor and going through your parents' records. So when MTV came out, Gone was Carole King's Tapestry album that every parent had. Because you would just listen to their collection because there was nothing. So when MTV came out, it was targeted for 12 to 24-year-olds. 50% of the audience was 12 to 24-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And when that came out, I remember when I was in high school, I was going through that old box that everybody had. It's like that simulated wood grain box with the push buttons on it.
Yep.
It went,
Yep.
and I was just looking for stuff. And I came upon it. It was the first video I ever saw.
stuff.
Because if you could use that little tuning wheel, you could pull in channels that were stuff.
The squigglies.
The squiggly lines, baby.
Right. And the first video,
You were like, was that a beer? Or, I mean, was that a boob or was that an elbow?
And that was
You
good
weren't
enough.
quite sure.
And it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
So I was just going through that box because small towns got MTV first because I found out it was much cheaper to run cable in rural areas because they didn't have to bury it underground. So we got it first. And I was going through late one night, and this video just came on, and it was all blue, and it was this weird guy on there singing. And it was David Byrne's Once in a Lifetime.
Wow.
That was the first video I remember seeing. And then I was just glued to it ever since. Not ever since. Well, ever since for 2 years. But that was the first video.
That video was in very heavy rotation.
Very heavy rotation.
Right.
Like I said, when you have 167 videos, you saw the same stuff
Yeah.
2-3 times a day.
yourself
Listen,
in a shotgun shack.
it's very reminiscent of. I remember. I don't want to get too much into this off the rails, but HBO's original days. That I remember going to a friend's house, and when HBO was very early in its beginnings.
Yeah.
And they would have like 6 movies all month.
Yeah.
And they would just show the same. So I probably saw Jaws like 75 times in 1 month. Rocky, the original Rocky. It was that kind of stuff. But it was great because you were like, whoa. You mean we can watch uncut movies in
And they
our
made
house?
a big deal about playing it.
Yeah.
It's like now our feature presentation.
Had the big opening with the opera music and everything.
And it was like an event.
And it
And
was
you got that
amazing.
little book that you could look at and say, oh, Jaws or Superman 2's coming on.
Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So MTV was a lot like that too, in the sense that
Right.
like you saw, like, if you watch a decent amount of time, you would see a lot of videos repeat. Right?
You would. You sure would. And there was times where we were just talking before we got here, me and Chip, there was like big voids where they just played like this musical interlude. They would just play like a graphic. And it seemed like it was like 5 or 10 minutes. It would just go on. And it was not really a song. It was just an instrumental. And I think they just stuck it in there to fill time.
The song was Stuart Copeland released a solo album under the name Clark Kent, Klark, and Carla Johnson had it, the EP, and I borrowed it in high school, and I still have it to this day. But that song is on that EP.
Really?
I forget what it's called. When I get home, I'll check. So look down in the comments of this video, and I'll comment what the name of the song was. But it would play, like he said, they would just show like these random graphics.
Right.
And this song would play for like a couple minutes, and then the next video would come on.
So it was just basically like filling time.
It was
Filling
filler.
time,
in
right.
between.
Literally filler, yep.
Because they didn't have enough, like, that's when the British people got involved, and that's why all these bands that you've never heard of before, Human League, Split Ends, Madness, Blotto. Remember Blotto? I Want to Be a Lifeguard.
Yes.
Oh.
Now, were they 24 hours right off the bat?
24 hours right off the bat.
I see. Here's my early MTV memory. Similar situation.
In stereo.
You had the console TV down in the parents' family room down in the basement, and it had you had the box on the top. I remember MTV being on at night.
Okay.
Helicon Cablevision out of Uniontown. This had to be super early on, but I remember seeing it for the first couple times, and it was like, I don't know what was on during the day, but it seemed like it came on at night. Now that might have been a Helicon thing,
right?
Not, but then eventually it took over, and that was the background for the 80s. It was MTV was on like the radio was on. You would turn it on, and it would be on in the background, and you would wait for your favorite video to come.
Sure.
And it introduced, like I said, when you're a kid, I'm old. You're old. We're old, except Ben. He's kind of young.
Oh no, he's in the 50 club.
Is he really?
I was about 8 whenever MTV started, 8 or 9.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, you had WDVE and your parents' records, but MTV brought these bands to us that you never heard of, like bands like Blotto or Wall of Voodoo.
I remember Wall of Voodoo.
Mexican, I love it. I saw
Mexican radio.
I went and saw Wall of Voodoo at the Stanley Theater based on that. You got the Pretenders, you got the B-52s, just stuff that you never heard. And then it opened up your mind. And how they knew MTV was successful was because it was a rural thing. And if we would have a record store here in Waynesburg, which we did not back in the day, they said that towns that had MTV, small towns, those record stores would be selling out of like Madness records or the Tubes records.
Right.
And because MTV opened with the Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Very first video and song.
And they said that those acts, they couldn't keep them on the shelves.
Right.
And they've sat on the shelves before that. So
Right.
MTV was so powerful.
And stores were not prepared.
Right.
Because they were like, whoa, why all of a sudden are people buying the Buggles?
Exactly. And that's what it was. It's because all these kids were getting into it. And I admit, I bought a bunch of stuff based on that too.
Sure.
And and that goes into like the cable people didn't all carry it. Like the Helicons, I don't even know who we had back then as a cable provider.
Yeah, I can't remember what
Helicon,
our cable
remember
company
Helicon.
was in Greene County. I remember they had an office right across the street here, but I don't remember what they were called. And they did. I don't remember having MTV right when it first started here in Waynesburg.
But
I don't know.
We had it in Carmichael's at least a couple weeks or months after.
Carmichael's would have been Helicon also.
Okay. Yeah. But, it takes me to this point. Everybody remembers that famous, I Want My MTV.
Yeah, of course.
So that was not just a clever marketing thing. That came on because cable operators weren't carrying the MTV because they didn't get paid to carry it. So that was taking up valuable bandwidth. I guess they called it back then.
Yeah.
You can only stick so many cable channels on.
Right.
So MTV went to Mick Jagger and said, we want you to do something for us. And Mick Jagger said, no, we Rolling Stones don't do commercials.
Right.
And then the guy from MTV said, well, that's not true because Jovan Perfume kind of sponsored your last tour, and that's kind of like a commercial. And he said, Mick laughed and said, I like you. He said, I don't have any money, but I'll give you $1 if you just say, I want my MTV. So he did. And after that, Pete Townsend, Pat
Everybody
Benatar,
started doing it,
Adam
right?
Ant, David Bowie, the Culture Club, they all had that I want my MTV. And that wasn't just clever. That was a cry for the people to call their cable company and say, I want my MTV, to demand it. You've read that too.
Yeah, it wasn't just a catchy slogan.
I just thought it was a catchy
war
slogan.
cry.
And
It was a war cry.
And they said a lot of cable operators caved because of that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
They said, and they all did it because they said, well, if Mick Jagger can do it and Pete Townsend can do it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
So that added some legitimacy to it.
Sure. And Ben, do you remember the band that made that slogan?
Oh,
famous?
yes, they used that in a popular song at the time.
Very big hit in the 80s.
I don't really like it that much. It had an interesting, very...
Oh, yeah. It's at the beginning of the song.
Who sings it?
Dire Straits.
Dire Straits. What's the name of the song?
Money for Nothing.
Money for Nothing. Now, here's the tricky question.
I know what you're
Jeez,
going to
come on,
ask.
I'm done. Just
Who actually sings I Want My MTV in the video, in the song? It's not Dire Straits. and it's a very famous singer. Chip, you know this?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, he had an album
Sting.
called Sting, whatever.
Sting actually says, "I want."
He was the
That
good
makes
looking
sense.
guy.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dire Straits rules. So all you kids watching this, listen to some Dire Straits.
Listen to Skate Away.
Yes.
That girl. Yeah.
By the way, Adam Joe told me that Mark Knopfler is still touring, and
I hope so.
and singing, and he's got to be pushing 80 now. But yeah,
God.
I don't think he was even a spring chicken back in the 80s. So, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. But you're right though. That wasn't just a slogan. That was MTV's like, guys, we really got to get more
Right.
out there.
Right.
And so once the stars started aligning for all these big names to come out and start saying it, it caught on, and then it became a big movement. So yeah, absolutely right.
That is. Yeah.
MTV was probably, when you talk about the 80s, it was probably one of the biggest cultural influences because, like Evan said, it reached us kids here in Greene County and then all over the world. So you had kids in Rice's Landing listening to the Tubes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that, which would have never happened before. But then everything from then on, you know,
Changed
every
everything.
concert, hey, we got MTV here shooting video.
Yep.
And,
Changed
you know,
everything.
And they would play live shows, and then it was the best.
The first hour of MTV, which if you get interested in it on YouTube, there's the first 2 hours of MTV. It's on YouTube. You can watch
It's
it.
awesome.
And it's like there's no commercials. It's
Uncut.
It's uncut, and
Yeah.
it's really
the
crappy.
way that it was aired, right?
Yeah,
it's
and
fascinating.
like there's black spots in it where they're waiting for somebody to insert the video cassette because it was filmed in two different places.
Right.
It was filmed in one place, and the satellite truck was there, and then they had to go and they had a technician putting a videotape in.
The very first day, they say there were a lot of there were a
Glitches.
lot of moments where it went blank because they were waiting for the guy to actually put the video.
And they play the wrong video. Like Mark Guesman came back and they played a commercial, and then he says, "No, that was a good one."
Yeah.
And he had no idea because he had no idea.
Right.
But the first hour of MTV, there's a concert they're promoting because you said MTV promoted concerts, and it's an REO Speedwagon.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
they played concerts at
Saturday
nighttime.
night-
Saturday
Saturday
night
nights.
concert or Friday night concert. Right. So Kevin
REO
Cronin.
Speedwagon was the very first. I have a note here.
Yes.
They were the first concert video to be aired on MTV.
Yep, like the first-
from their album Live Infidelity.
Yep.
And the video was interrupted after 12 seconds due to technical difficulties. Which contained. Oh wait, I'm sorry. The technical difficulty moment contains only a blank black screen with a 208Z tone for a few seconds before going back to MTV studio.
208 Z tone. Ben probably knows what that is. I don't know.
200 hertz.
Frequency.
HC. Oh, yeah. Can we do one here?
No.
Okay. But they said they wanted
Cost
Kevin.
extra.
They wanted Kevin Cronin to be one of the VJs because there was 5 original VJs, and they said they wanted Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon to be a VJ.
I wish I could have seen that, by the way.
But he said they got a lookalike in that Mark Goodman thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the
let's
same-
talk about those original.
Yes.
Let's talk about
about it.
how many were there? 5, right? So they were Mark
Name-
Goodman, as you mentioned,
Alan Hunter,
Alan Hunter.
Alan Hunter, who was in one of David Bowie's
Fashion.
videos. Fashion, yes.
he always pointed that out. I'm in this video.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
Or maybe I
standing,
knew that
He's
and I
standing
forgot.
up on a rail and he looks down and goes, "Fashion."
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's not very spectacular, but anyway.
Alan Hunter, J.J. Jackson, who
J.J.
was
Jackson.
like was actual credible. I guess he was a radio DJ.
Yeah, he was the one with
the experience.
Yeah,
he was like the old man, and
he was
like
the
35
serious one.
years old.
Yeah, he was the one that they had clout. That had clout.
They said he'd roll in fur jackets and fancy cars and chicks hanging on both arms, hot and cold running.
And I got to be honest, I liked his voice the best out of
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
You could tell he was a professional.
Nina Blackwood.
Nina Blackwood.
She's still on the Sirius XM. Her voice is still really
Nina
raspy.
Blackwood.
And America's Sweetheart, everybody loved her, Martha Quinn.
Still
Martha
love her.
Quinn.
Still love Martha
Still
Quinn.
love Martha Quinn.
Yeah.
Nina Blackwood was actually in a great exploitation, low-budget movie called Vice Squad, which came out in the very early 80s.
Really?
Well, she plays like a hooker who gets the crap beat out of her by Wings Hauser, who's the pimp. His name is Ramrod, and he beats the crap out of her with a metal hanger, like a wire hanger.
No metal hangers.
The pimp named Ramrod.
Ramrod beats
Nina
up
Blackwood.
Nina Blackwood in
she
Vice
was a
Squad.
DJ though, also, wasn't she?
Yeah.
like, I don't know the station, but she
was
had
a
radio
regular
background.
DJ.
But I don't know what station she's on XM, but she is.
She was like the punk blonde look. You
Everybody
know, she
kind of
was-
liked her. Yeah.
Yeah, she was friendly, funny. Yeah.
From what I read in that book, and I wish I had it to hold up, which I don't, but look it up on Want My MTV. They said they went through great lengths to pick everybody out. They wanted the jock, and
Yeah, you could
which was
tell-
Alan Hunter. They wanted like the cool guy, which was Mark Guesman. They wanted the girl next door,
Martha Quinn.
They wanted the bad girl that you always lusted after,
Right.
Nina Blackwood. Yeah. So
It's
they,
almost like the Breakfast Club in a way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they five very distinct personalities, so that there was something for everyone in a weird
Correct.
way. Right,
Right.
totally right. Who was your favorite of the original of the Fab Five back in the day?
I don't know. I
And
like
don't
Martha
think
Quinn.
with your weenie. I mean, who did you like as a VJ?
I don't know. I kind of like J.J. Jackson.
Yeah, I
don't know.
did
He
too.
was just kind of cool, kind of suave.
Yeah,
Alan
Yeah, he
Hunter. When I think
Alan
MTV,
Hunter, yeah.
Alan Hunter's the guy that
The jock.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
pops into my head. But they were all they're cemented in.
Right.
You know.
And they all had they were very good at presenting their like unique personalities.
Right.
Every one of them. But Martha Quinn was literally like the quintessential girl next door. Like everybody loved her because everybody thought they could get her.
She still looks great too.
Yeah?
Yep.
If you read that book about her, she got really famous, and she dated a lot of people. She dated-
Really?
people they went after her, and she complied. And yeah, and she dated.
Ben, did you ever get her?
Did you ever get any of that sweet Martha Quinn action?
the time she came up to the opera
Drank
house.
a lot in the 80s. I don't know.
Well, you don't remember.
Actually, I didn't drink in the 80s at all.
You might have had some J.J. Jackson action. Who knows?
Him and
At least it wasn't the pimp named Ramrod.
Ramrod. I would have totally gone after Ramrod.
Hey.
Again, I was 8 years old.
Vice Squad, huh? I'm gonna have to check the archives.
Vice Squad is a great movie. I definitely strongly recommend you check that one out if you have not seen it. Very violent.
Is Ginger Lynn involved in one of the Vice Squad?
No, you're thinking Vice Academy
Vice Academy. You're right.
with
You're right.
Leanna Quigley.
Yes.
And that's another great movie, by the way, in and of itself. There's actually a trilogy. And yeah, you see a lot of Ginger Allen in
See,
that.
that's what I'm saying. MTV permeated all aspects of our life because you watched MTV and that's what
you
set
wanted
the
to be
pace for
like
everything.
it, right? And like artists, they paid for these videos on themselves. And
See,
reading
that's
that book,
interesting because I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up because that's something I wanted to talk about.
and that's good.
A lot of people had this misconception, I think, especially in the beginning days of MTV, that they would go to like record labels and beg them for their bands or artists to make videos so that they could air them.
Right.
But that wasn't the case,
No.
right?
The artists wanted their stuff to be played, so they would make these videos. And
Right, they would
sometimes
have to
had
pay for 'em.
no budgets, and that's what said there was so many one-hit wonders on
Mm-hmm.
MTV because the band was fine, like hit and run, making their own video. You go out there and you spend $50,000 making a video, and then it doesn't do anything. Now you're out of money,
Right.
And that's why there were so many.
It was the
just
ultimate
one
gamble for a lot of
hits.
these
Yeah.
lower rung
And MTV
bands.
got all those videos for free. Mm-hmm. They made a lot of money off of artists. That's why the budget started getting bigger and bigger because everybody wanted to outdo each other.
Listen, there's another great book called Nothing But a Good Time, which is about the hair band era.
Right.
And there's a great interview with I want to say it's David Coverdale, but it might not be. One of the guys was saying that by the end of the 80s, MTV videos were costing $400,000,
Yeah.
$500,000,
Yeah.
up closer to $1 million.
Those Axl Rose.
Yeah, and the production
Use
got
Your Illusion, there's
ridiculous.
one,
They
two, and
became
three.
like
They
freaking
became mini
movies.
movies. In fact, what's his name? That director fella.
Fencer? No, not Fencer. Who are you
No,
talking
he
about?
did Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, yeah, John Landis.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was like the biggest video ever
Yeah.
made.
Right.
And yeah. So
Do you guys remember when Thriller first?
it was such a big deal.
It was
wasn't
a huge deal.
It's like they were like, tune in tonight at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's Thriller. And people would be home watching.
It got ridiculous media coverage. It was huge. I mean, and really, I think, we talked about this a lot before on the show, that, I mean, that video, I think in particular, but let's call it what it is. MTV didn't explode until Michael Jackson.
Right.
I won't say he's the first one or the only one, but if you do a Mount Rushmore of artists who broke open MTV,
Right.
you got to put Michael Jackson on that
He
Mount
put him on the
Rushmore,
map.
right?
Yeah, he did.
And I'd say Madonna would be another
Madonna's
one. But anyway.
another big one. And
Right.
it's a funny thing because I don't know, it's a touchy subject in today's age. But the first couple years, and even David Bowie mentioned in interviews, there was no black people on MTV.
Yes.
And
A lot of controversy.
a lot of controversy, but they say, there was no, it was an album-oriented rock station, and there was not many black artists doing that.
Right.
So the first black artist that was on there, you'll never guess. Maybe you know because you researched it. They said Rick James made a video, but one of the female black executives said,
this is the story I know.
said, I'm not going to play this because it's an exploitation video.
Well, she said her word was, and I quote, "It's crap.
yeah.
It's absolute crap.
so
There's
Rick
nothing
Ja-
but half-naked chicks
Right.
and a lot of bad stuff in it."
So Rick James took that personally.
Mm-hmm.
So they did the first actual group. Do you know what it was?
No.
Musical Youth.
Really?
Pass the Dochi on the
Pass the
left-hand
Dutchie.
side. Yeah, that was it.
Ben, you played that song, didn't you?
And then was followed by Herbie Hancock.
Okay.
Rocket.
Rocket.
But you
Oh,
never,
I remember
but you
that being
never
big.
saw him. It was just those robots.
Yeah, right,
Remember
right,
that?
yeah.
And then Eddie Grant. Everybody knows Eddie Grant.
Electric Avenue.
Yeah.
Remember that song? And then we'll take you higher.
Right.
I used to love that song.
It's a great song because it had motorcycles in it. It's like, down in the street.
Speaking of one-hit wonders, but anyway, there's one right there.
Oh,
Eddie Grant.
Eddie Grant, yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember another song from him.
And there was artists that didn't want to do videos. And I'll got an example here. I loved every time I hear the song, I still think of the video. It's Joe Jackson, Stepping Out.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a great tune.
Yeah. He didn't want to make videos, and he didn't make videos. He made like 2. And he
Right.
said he looks back now in anger of himself for not doing that because he said it really hurt his career because MTV was where it's at. And
Right.
if you're not getting played, you're not getting played. Even acts like Thomas Dolby. Remember that famous Science?
Blinded Me with Science. Remember that
That
song?
was his dad in there. He said that he wrote the storyboard for that song before that song even existed.
So he thought of the video before the song.
Video was such a big deal to
Sure
some
it
people
was.
that they would just come up with an idea and then tailor a song around it.
Wow.
And another artist, I feel like I'm talking too much.
No,
I'm gonna-
No,
I'm gonna say-
dude, this is great.
That
Ben
reminds
hates
me
the
of
sound of my
something.
voice.
Usually I take a nap when Steve's talking.
Nah,
I'm
nah,
actually
you
still
shouldn't.
awake, so this is good.
But ZZ
You might
Top,
have to take over here. Go ahead.
but ZZ Top's another interesting story because they said that they were just they were popular like on album stations with Tush and Pearl Necklace.
Right.
But everybody, when you say ZZ Top, what do you think of?
Oh, my God. Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah, that album came out, and that was Billy Gibbons' car in that. He said he got that, and he was restoring it, right? Cost him $250,000 when it was done. He didn't have the money, but they wanted to use it in the video. So he said he went to the bank and got a loan out so he can get his car and took a big gamble on it.
Wow.
Then they just inserted all these girls, dressed
Right.
them up,
I was
and
going to say the gamble paid
came
off.
up with the keychain with the Z on it.
Yeah.
And I guess that paid off
Paid off big time.
for ZZ Top because they said that they were probably the oldest people on MTV at the time. They said their combined age was 99 years old, which is 33. They were all 33.
Right. Yeah. 99. That's me and Ben. Just the two of us.
Just the,
Mostly you.
Mostly me.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the Thomas Dolby thing about planning the video
Yeah.
before the song existed, that reminds me of a Chip. This is a Chip story, so get ready.
oh,
Oh, I love Chip stories.
oh, sometimes they're interesting.
Greene County Votech. Okay,
1978.
when I was
Picture.
it was
1970s.
the 80s. We had our gifted program up at the Votech. Okay,
which I
so,
was not a participant.
so
right?
we were up there, and I remember this like it happened yesterday. I was in the hall of the Votech, and if you knew anything about the Votech, there was a code before you went into the bathroom. You had to say it's cool. So if people were smoking in there, they knew not to, ditch their butt in the toilet thinking it was somebody coming in. But anyway, I remember standing outside the bathroom, and 2 girls walked by, and they were having a conversation about a song, and the girl was telling her friend about an idea for the video for this song that she had. And that stuck with me forever because I thought, that's, again, this is Greene County. You're in Waynesburg.
It's revolutionary.
And this
man.
girl saying, I've got this cool, and to this day, I'm like, I wonder what her idea was. And,
Right.
But it's just, again, that's the impact it had on us was like, we would think, man, if I made a video, it would be like this. Because every song had a video.
Sure.
And you were so tuned into that visual aspect
Yep.
of that. And like ZZ Top, that made their career.
Yep. And a lot of
those videos made their career.
And a lot of artists said they didn't like making videos because they just thought they didn't want that to be the only vision. They were
Right.
like true
Right.
artists.
Yeah.
But that takes me to like stories like Def Leppard. They said Def Leppard. You like Def Leppard. I like
did.
Def Leppard. Me too.
Early Def
But they
Leppard.
said they were opening at one time for Blackfoot, of all people. I mean, I challenge you. Name me one Blackfoot song.
I can't think of one.
Train, train.
So,
Train. Yeah,
so they're opening for Blackfoot, right? So they gave him a bunch of money. He had 25 pounds in his pocket, which I think is like $790. 25 pounds? I don't know. No? That's British.
I don't know.
Any rate, so he was making this video for photographs. So he was walking down the street and went to this thrift store and he bought these fake leather pants. They were pleather, but they were too short, right? So he's kept on walking down the street and he bought leg warmers to hide the shortness because that was popular. Sure. And he wore that, and he wore that Union Jack shirt in that video photograph because he found it in a secondhand store. So that look cost him 25 pounds, and they said ever since that video came out, that year they sold 250,000 of those shirts because he wore it in that video.
I had one.
I had
I
the
still do.
shorts.
Yeah.
Heavy Metal Marathon. I went to that. Me and Craig Weimer. How you doing,
You
man?
would have the shorts.
I bought the shorts. I wore them to gym class like one time, and then with the tube socks.
Do
with
you
the
still
green
have
and-
them?
No, I wish I did. Weimer has the shirt. I think.
wish you did,
The
too.
Union Jack, yeah, man. And but
That became one of the most popular shirts of the
it
decade,
did.
man.
So it was fashion. It was an accident. He wore leg warmers because the pants were too short.
Wow.
And that I was telling him on the way up here from the secondhand store. I went to the secondhand store. Good store.
Great store.
Bought a nice lamp.
He did. It's a beautiful lamp.
It really is. It's like this Greek goddess. Anyway,
right?
they were saying Olivia Newton-John was trying to reinvent herself, right? And because she was like country soft rock,
Yeah.
so she came out with that giant album, which you love, and it's great.
Was
Physical.
it I Will Always Love You? Wasn't that her hit? Or I
Prior
Will,
to that, yes.
Please,
Yes, yeah.
Mister, please, all that stuff. But
All those standards. Like
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people did those tunes.
right, but then Physical came out, and she was doing a video, and she said that the hair kept getting in her face, and people kept stopping the video shoot, saying, "You got to do something. Your hair is just falling in your
We
face."
need to see your face.
So somebody just threw her a headband to wear in a video, and she thought nothing of it. Then after that, she said everybody started wearing headbands. Kind of like that Jennifer Beals in Flashdance with the thing off her shoulder.
Yes.
It just inadvertently caught on. So
And I remember reading somewhere too, but that scene was not originally supposed to be in Flashdance. That famous scene where she takes her bra off underneath
Really?
her sweatshirt.
yeah, I've read that too, I think.
And it was totally ad libbed, and the director was so fascinated that she could do it. They were like, "Oh yeah, we got to
We gotta
keep that in there."
Right.
But speaking of Flashdance, though, right?
Yeah.
I had a note that Flashdance was the
I saw that note.
yes. Where was? Oh crap! What,
It was.
I'll
yeah,
find it here.
I
Hold
forget.
on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it was the first movie video.
Yes. That they made a video that kind of
Flashdance.
promoted the movie. Yeah.
1983 was the first film whose promoters supplied MTV with musical clips to compose promotional videos, which the channel included in its regular
Yeah.
rotation.
So it was a powerful thing. But,
And then that,
yeah.
I think, jump started the whole movement of movies. Then started realizing, hey, look, studios were like, hey, we can tie in our movies to this, right?
Right. Yeah.
So a
I
lot of
agree.
you got the Footloose and all those, Purple Rain. And,
Hence
Purple
Kenny
Rain.
Loggins' career.
yeah, really.
Yeah, Kenny Loggins was the big thing on that. But getting back to that Michael Jackson thing, because I wanted to touch on this. And the only reason that they played Billie Jean on MTV was CBS Records said, if you don't play this Michael Jackson video, you're not going to play any of our videos.
Right.
They're going to pull them all. So that was like the blackmail they used. I just
Yeah, that was the.
I just wanted to complete that topic because I'm getting confused.
No, that's right. Yeah, you're right. The president of the record
Yeah,
label, something, strong armed them and said,
Yeah.
enough is enough.
You're playing it
You're
or
playing
nothing.
it or we're pulling.
And then people loved it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize, and I read about the backstory of that video. That video was kind of shot on location, but to save money, they used a matte painting, like a backdrop of the city. So he's not walking through a city. That's a painting. Like when you're watching those old Star Trek episodes, they're on a foreign planet, and but
yeah.
they're not. But when you look at that video now, you can see that he's not in a city. They used a series of matte paintings. They did some clever stuff on MTV.
Yeah, well, and right. And something I wanted to mention too is I think we need to go back for just a split second to even before MTV. There were avenues for videos in the 70s, right? I mean, before MTV became huge, there weren't many avenues. There weren't many opportunities for bands to make videos that they could be shown.
Right.
But there were a couple programs, right? There was music television but they always focused on live performances.
Yes,
right?
I see you have the old gray whistle test.
Yeah,
there. That's a great. I just watched that the other day. John Entwistle was doing My Wife, and it was all live stuff, and it was all phenomenal.
You realize
produced.
how bad that sounded, by the way? John Entwistle was doing My Wife.
Well, it's a song. John
It's a song.
Entwistle
It's a
sings.
Crazy way
My
to find
Wife.
out on YouTube.
That's awkward. Oh, and you saw it on TV? Well, that's terrible.
He's dead now.
He's dead. Who cares?
All
But
right.
no, seriously, you're right. So it was mostly live performances,
Right.
shows such as In Concert and the Old Gray Whistle Test.
Yeah.
Which, that sounds dirty to me now that
Yeah.
the Old Gray Whistle Test.
But if you haven't watched that show on YouTube, the Old Gray Whistle Test has some great acts in
Yeah.
there, and they're all live. Now, I wanted to go back. I didn't write this down, but Michael Nesmith. You know who Michael Nesmith
Yes,
is?
the Monkees, right?
He was supposedly the inventor of MTV.
And he was also one hell of a producer,
Yes.
right? Songwriter, everything. I mean, he was, he had his
He came
fingers
up
in
with the
different
show.
music pots. Go ahead.
Yeah, he came up with a show called Pop Clips, and that's out there on YouTube too. You can watch it. It's really crappy, but he had a comedian introduced videos, and they would play music videos. And they wanted him to be involved, but he didn't like the direction it was going for
Right.
some reason. It didn't say why, but they said they just paid him a bunch of money and he left, and he was happy. Mm-hmm. He'd probably be happier if he stuck around.
Might have made a little more money.
Yeah,
But I don't
Hey.
know. He had that Monkees revival to think about.
Yeah, he's
you know?
doing
Did.
all right.
He wore
He's
that
doing
wool
that.
cap all the time.
Yeah, that probably, you know,
I don't know
probably
why-
baked his brain.
Kids
Who
do
knows?
that today. They wear hoodies when it's really hot. I don't get it.
I hate that.
Why do they do? They're driving in their car.
And I don't hate a lot of
You know
things.
why they do?
right,
Kids
Ben?
do dumb stuff now. No
Why?
MTV.
You don't hate a lot of stuff.
I don't hate a lot of things.
Neither do I.
But I really
I really
hate when
accept
people
them.
wear beanies in the summer.
Yeah.
That's going to be a
And
second
hoodies.
podcast. Things Steve's.
You know what
Steve
really
hates,
grinds
which is
my gears?
Everything.
Let me tell you what grinds my gears.
Were you going to say something relevant?
We ain't got time for
You
that.
guys are just riffing, man. I'm just taking it all in.
Well, let me throw in a couple
Throw
things
in some
here.
fun
Okay.
stuff. I still have two
But my
pages.
God, man, you just literally wiped out my first 9 pages of
I'm
notes
sorry.
here.
While you're looking for
No, but
something to
I love
say,
it. I love it.
Aerosmith, they were sampling a song in the clubs, and they thought the name of the song was called "Toys in the Attic." Do you know why they thought it was called that?
No.
Because it was "Walk This Way" off "Toys in the Attic" album.
Oh.
And they said that he had that album in his DJ collection, you know, and
Right.
they would do it. And their producer, Rick Rubin, you probably heard of him,
Mm-hmm.
came to Run DMC and said, I need you to you're going to do a remake of this song. Go home, listen to this song. It's Aerosmith. And they never heard of Aerosmith.
You said Aerosmith, but you meant Run DMC was sampling Aerosmith.
Yeah, Run
Yeah.
DMC was sampling.
I was very confused.
Yeah.
Thank you
Run
for that, Chip.
DMC was sampling that song. They called it Toys in
Toys
the
in
Attic.
the Attic,
Because
because
they
they
knew
didn't
no
know.
better. Right. So they went and listened to it, and they did Walk This Way. You remember that video. It was
Oh,
a
absolutely.
huge video.
Absolutely.
And they said that reinvented Aerosmith's career because
Sure
Oh,
it did.
hell yeah.
they
it
said
did.
he was all strung out and almost dead.
The band was done.
Yeah.
Between drugs, between infighting, between lagging sales.
And that crossover, that's like the Beastie Boys type of stuff. Anthrax was all that hip hop, that early
Hip-hop rock.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what made Run DMC Run DMC.
You're absolutely right.
They gave props. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that
I
was
was
later
good-
on, too. That video's from when? What year?
What, Walk This Way?
Walk This. Yeah, that wasn't.
Well, it
It's
was
older
before
early.
Done with Mirrors, right? Or it was
Right.
after Done
It's
with
older than you
Mirrors.
think.
Yeah, it is. It's older than you think because it was way before Permanent
I'm
Vacation.
saying 85, 86.
It might have been
Yeah. It was-
right on the cusp of mid-'80s.
Right.
The cusp.
On the cusp.
Living.
Let me
in
throw in a couple
I'll-
notes here, and I will get back to you, by the way. I mean, because you're doing a hell of a great job.
He
by the
really
way.
he worked really hard at this.
I know. I could tell, man.
did.
I think Ben's going to want you to come back more often than me.
We have room for his name up here.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
Talk
You're doing a
80s
hell
to
of a
Talk
job.
80s with Evan.
Talk 80s to Evan is what it's going to be called from here on out.
There's not much of the 80s left to the cover. I mean, you got
Well,
everything.
Oh, there is
Oh,
plenty.
I concur, mon
We
frere.
could talk about them discovering the Titanic originally in the 80s.
We could.
Then we could
That was a
tie
great
that
movie,
into
by the way, Raise the
submersible. Yeah,
Titanic.
anyway.
All right, let me tell you this. So let's talk about those 5 original VJs real quick. Let's talk about when they departed.
okay. You know
1986 brought the departures of J.J. Jackson, who moved back to L.A. and returned to radio. Nina Blackwood moved on to pursue new roles in television. Martha Quinn's contract was not renewed in late 86, and she left. She was brought back in early 1989 and stayed until 92. The first replacement VJ hired was, you know?
Is that Adam Curry?
No.
There was a blonde girl.
Downtown Julie Brown.
Nobody seemed to like her.
No, I didn't think she was good.
They said she was really annoying and a real B word.
And whoa,
Yeah.
Boogerhead.
Yeah.
She was a real booger.
And in mid '87, Alan Hunter and Mark Goodman ceased
Right.
being full-time MTV VJs. They stuck around on a part-time basis.
Right. From what I read, they were unceremoniously released. I
Yeah.
mean, they were just like, because the whole idea, I guess, was to keep it fresh,
Right.
to keep the channel fresh. And they didn't want it to get stale, so
Right.
they kept on replacing these VJs. That's how you got Pauly Shore and Randy of the Redwoods. And
Well, and even back then, I mean, you know, you talk about now, like today's attention span is absurdly ridiculous. But even back, MTV was becoming, with the videos being quick, you know,
Right.
everything, like the attention span even started rapidly moving. So there was a real urgency for MTV to keep things fresh, like you just said.
Yeah.
So they were constantly looking for new ways to not go stagnant.
Right.
And coming up with programs and things like that. And then they started dipping into like freaking game shows.
yeah, remote control.
Remote control.
They said they kept updating they updated their sets like every year just
Yeah.
to keep them fresh, and they would.
There was a real worry on their part that the younger generation was going to consider them stale and out of touch.
Right.
So they constantly worried about that.
That's what's wrong with all of us.
short attention span.
That's why we have no attention spans, and
Right.
that's why we all have anxiety nowadays, because of those 3-minute and 30-second videos
Yep.
that we watched for 20 years.
You got ADD, yeah, you know me.
Yep.
You know,
Thanks to
I'm
MTV.
down with
I mean that's what it is. So let me tell you this though. So in 1984, the channel produced its first MTV Video Music Awards. First show in '84 was punctuated by a live performance by Madonna of "Like a Virgin."
I remember that well.
And it was controversial because Madonna always liked to push the envelope with her live performances.
She wore a wedding dress.
Yes.
And no panties, the book went into saying.
And pretended to masturbate while she was wearing
Right.
religious imagery, which is what Ben does every other Saturday. The statuettes that are handed out at the VMAs are of the MTV Moon Man.
Yeah, the
right?
Moon Man.
channel's original image.
I got another interesting story in a minute about that.
And then presently, today, the Video Music Awards are MTV every year their most watched annual event.
And I don't understand how, because they haven't shown music videos for how long now?
You're absolutely right.
Right. But getting back to the video music thing, some of the interesting ones were, and I remember it vaguely. I wasn't watching MTV at the time, but 92, when grunge was coming. I know you hate grunge, but I like it.
With a passion.
That's
You know what really grinds my gears?
That's when
Grunge me is
Axl
everything.
Rose was being taunted by Courtney Love. I guess Courtney Love was walking behind him.
The scary thing is Courtney Love could have beat up Axl Rose.
Right,
Go
she
ahead.
kept calling him
Definitely.
asshole instead of Axhole.
Oh.
Axel.
Oh.
So, and she was trying to get them to fight. But at any rate, that's when the guitar guy from Nirvana.
Oh, Kurt Cobain?
Not Kurt Cobain. Cursed.
Oh, yeah, the other guy.
I love Nirvana. I don't know his name. So he threw a guitar up in the air and it came down and hit him in the head.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
remember that?
I do.
Yeah, he tried catching it. But
Because this was back in the time when Axl liked to beat up women, didn't he? Wasn't he accused of allegedly beating up women?
Something, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
something
always
was
in
going
trouble
on.
for something.
Yeah, he was always causing problems.
that's my November Rain rendition.
Now, was this, and I'm not being smart when I say this, was this before or after Cobain killed himself?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess because grunge was taking over.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Well, and a lot of 80s bands were
and
mad.
there was a lot of tensions. There
Yeah.
was fights and such like that. But that was the 92.
A lot of guys
ones.
in makeup getting mad at guys wearing flannel.
Yeah,
It was
It was a very angry, ugly fight.
yeah. But those. But there was also before that video. There was other shows. Remember MTV Unplugged?
Oh, I remember. And Unplugged became huge.
And it, you know what? It's just weird looking back. It only lasted 3 years, 89 through 92. And one of the first.
Boy, I thought it was on longer than
Yeah,
that.
me too. And like Neil Young, Joe Walsh, Dawn Henley, lots of people. And
Lots
they
of
would,
older generation
and they would
stars.
put out those CDs like
Yeah.
a week after they were on.
Well, I
there.
remember Kiss at that point. They came out and
Kiss
said
Unplugged.
that they did Kiss Unplugged. They
Did they?
released it on CD, and it was one of their biggest selling.
Really?
And it wasn't good. I mean, but then again, we're talking about Kiss. You know, they were unmasked and unplugged and untalented, I guess.
One of the now you're going down memory lane. One of the first videos I also remember on MTV was Kiss "Love It Loud."
I love it loud. Yep.
That
that's
song,
a great album, by the way.
You know what? That album,
Creatures of the Night.
That song was great because they were out of makeup. There's
Right.
telephones melting.
Yep.
You remember that? Turn it up. I
Turn
want
it
to be
up. You have
president.
to be a president. Yep.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons singing, belching
was-
out the lyrics.
And then it faded out. And then it came back in at the end.
Good song.
That's on my lawn mowing
Yeah.
playlist.
That's a good tune.
Yep.
And
That's
then
a
they
good
had
one.
another great song on that album called War Machine.
Yep.
And that's actually a pretty decent, heavy
Yes.
album. Very
Hard and
underrated.
Barnhart, you know these songs.
Gunner's yelling at us right now.
Hey, how long have we been on the air?
About 52 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, we
good.
done?
All right. No. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good, man. You're doing great. Chip is doing great. Ben's even doing great.
I'm not even nervous.
Me, not so much.
Do you guys remember the MTV T-shirt?
I do. The white one, you mean?
I remember a blue one.
Okay.
Junebug had one. George Chernesky had the original MTV T-shirt, like that you ordered off of. You called the
okay.
number and ordered.
Okay.
I'm not talking like the one you buy in Target. I'm talking
Yeah.
the OG. Like
Right.
you were the man if you had an MTV.
That
I
stuff
remember
still, I saw it at Walmart a couple weeks ago. You can still, it's still out there, branded MTV merchandise because it's retro.
Sure. Oh,
I saw
retro is huge now.
I saw the
hip.
sweatpants. I saw the shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. it's-
80s is back in style, which is why we're here, by the way. Ben finally agreed to do this podcast just because the 80s is kind of making a comeback.
This is my appeal.
Ben hates the 80s, by the way.
He loves
Ben-
it.
I don't hate
He'll
the
come
80s.
around.
I just hate all the
Probably
things
likes
that you love
Chum-
about the 80s.
He probably likes Chumbawamba,
He'll come
the
around.
0 years, 2000s.
This-
I get knocked down.
This is my appeal to
Go ahead.
whoever runs what's left of MTV.
You mean TV? Go ahead.
Yeah. If you want to make money off of a 55-year-old guy like me, get a channel, a streaming, whatever. I'll pay for it and play that old shit. Play those old videos just like they did back in the day. Play it like that, and I will pay $10, $12 a month to watch that. None of this game show crap, no real world, nothing like just music, videos, and like we were talking, don't have the metal hour.
Right.
Mix that shit up. I want to hear Seals and Crofts and then Slayer. Just,
No.
Oh, I like that.
I'm telling you,
You won't listen to it. You know why? Because of this. Because it's all out there on your phone.
no, it's not. Though, listen to
Dude,
me. Hear me
it's
out.
on YouTube.
No,
All right,
that- listen.
let's not fight.
Here's the problem with YouTube. You can watch a video on YouTube.
Right.
I don't want that. I want a streaming channel like MTV was back in 82, 83, where they just play videos and I don't have to stop and watch 15 minutes of commercials between each one.
You wanna
Chippy,
be
I agree with that.
Those
You wanna be
videos, and you will
surprised.
make money from old guys like me that have money, not these kids that don't. So do that or play ridiculousness for the rest of your life. I don't care.
Ben, you were going to say something.
No, I said there's something to just being slightly surprised, anticipating something that you might like,
Right.
might not like, but there's a little
I
bit
wonder
of a
what's
surprise element
next.
to it.
I wonder what's next.
That was the whole vibe of watching MTV was what's next.
Well, look at this playlist. This is their first 100 videos. It's like it goes from Pretenders to Cliff Richards,
Yes.
to
Right.
Split Ends to 38 Special.
Real quick, let's talk about the first 10 videos that they showed because I thought this was fascinating because I had this list too. But the very first video was the Buggles video Killed the Radio Star. The second video is You Better Run, Pat
Hyper
Benatar.
Foxy,
Oh,
Pat Benatar.
sexy
That
Pat
video, and
Benatar.
she just looks so mean. She's like snapping her
She
fingers
looked like she'd love you and kill you in
at
the
the
same breath.
time.
Number 3 was She Won't Dance With Me by Rod Stewart. Now, I have a note too, but that was the first.
I don't think I know that song.
Nor
I don't
do I.
either.
Never. I
She
can't
wants to
even.
dance with me.
But
I'm sure you know. from
Ooh,
that
I like
one.
that.
Yeah,
It's
like
not
that.
But
ringing a bell.
Wikipedia says
Wikipedia.
bassist Phil Chen was the first non-white musician to appear on MTV
What was he?
for that Rod Stewart song.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, he goes in the history books for that for some reason.
Okay. So then.
You
another
better,
one.
you bet,
That's
right?
The Who. There was
Who.
a lot of Who. Pete Townsend also was on there because he did, remember Rough Boys?
Oh, yes.
And he was in a pool hall
Yes.
banging up against a lot of young men playing pool. And then it came out that he was yeah,
Banging
and
up
then
against a lot of young men doing
in
other
real life. And it kind of made
whoa,
sense.
whoa, whoa.
okay.
That's how Ben and I met
That's okay.
in the pool hall.
Okay, Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders was next. The
Great
Pretenders
song.
had some great songs. They had that Tattooed Love Boys, Message of Love. There were some great Pretenders songs.
Now, wait, I got to ask you, though, about number 5. Little Susie's on the Up by PhD.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Right
think I know that
song.
either.
Yeah, it's a cover.
Little Susie.
Tesla covered that.
Tesla covered it, but I don't know who the heck PhD is.
Look at that first hour, mister. You'll see it on the YouTube.
Is it? Do you know them?
No.
They're just like those one-hit people.
And then Cliff Richard, We Don't Talk Anymore.
Oh, that's a great song.
Funny. You know that song?
We don't talk anymore. Something like that.
Don't know that either.
You gotta hold your
Cliff
ear.
Richards and
But we
Olivia
want to give you
Newton-John
two
were
an hour to sing all these songs.
Okay.
You need more beer if you're going to do
All
that.
right.
Could you get me a
Would you like another beer?
Brass in Pocket, and
Yeah.
then what's the next? Time Heals
Time
by
Heals.
Todd Rundgren.
I don't really know that. I
don't
only know
know.
Hello, It's Me by Todd Rundgren.
Okay.
And then Take It on the Run, because that album,
that's
High Infidelity, was
High
hot,
Infidelity is freaking phenomenal. It's a classic.
Man. It's a
man.
great album.
It is.
They just played like Wheeling
Yeah, they're
War
still
Memorial.
touring.
And I can't go because I have a terrible, I have to work. Anyway.
You were going to say you have a terrible job. Don't ever say that.
I have a terrible
know,
need
but
for
seriously.
money.
But anyway.
Rockin' the Paradise is number 10 with Styx, man. That's a great tune.
Hand me your cups
You see
for
that?
a refill there.
Dennis-
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Dennis
I'm good
Young
now.
of
Ben
Sings
can
the
only
Song.
handle one.
There's my Rockin' the Paradise plug.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I saw him. He's fantastic. What are you going to do? Get a Lord Chesterfield?
Just one.
Pass the Ducci on the left-hand
But
side.
I was going to comment on how nice your cooch was, or your what's it called?
My
Koozie.
cooch?
Your coochie, your
Anyway.
koozie. What's it
At any
called?
rate,
When things go wrong,
Never-
Robin Lane and the Chartbusters.
can't remember it.
Nope.
History Never
Repeats by Split Ends.
It was kind of their lesser.
I don't know.
They
that
went
song.
off to form that Crowded House.
Okay.
Don't Dream It's Over. They were Australian or that New Zealand, one of those countries which is backwards down there.
Whoa, wait a minute now.
Well, the water goes down
Listen,
the drain.
we
the
have
other way.
Australian fans that listen to the show. We don't want to get them.
Put another shrimp on the barbie, mate.
All right, settle down there, Dundee. Hold on loosely. 38
Great.
special.
I watched that today on the first hour of MTV. 2 drummers. It's a live concert video.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
It's like you would need 2 Chip Goosemans.
That's why we can't play Rockin' Into the Night because there's 2 drummers and it's
Listen,
hard.
we can only handle one Chip Gooseman. We can't handle 2.
Okay.
Sometimes
we're
one's too
past
much.
number 10.
Okay, yeah. So history never. Yeah. So just between you and me by April.
I love
Wine.
April Wine. April
like
Wine
April
was
Wine?
fantastic.
Great song.
I like Maybeer myself, but anyway. And then Sailing by Rod Stewart. That's the top.
And that's not the
15.
Christopher Cross sailing one. That
I don't
like
remember
better.
that song either.
I don't either.
Watch that first
I
hour.
remember the Christopher Cross
But
one.
anyway,
not-
and that's why I highlighted this right here, because the duality of man in it.
And then Iron
you got
Maiden
your
was
Iron
16,
Maiden,
huh?
and then Keep on Loving You right after it. I mean, it was just weird. But
So in the first 17, they did 2 REO Speedwagon videos. They must have liked REO Speedwagon.
and another Pretenders one,
Right.
And there's another.
The Cars.
Cars.
Phil Collins. Oh, In the Air Tonight with the greatest
Good
drum
song.
Yeah.
part of all time.
the Cars were a huge part of MTV too. Those
You
guys
might
were,
think that
yeah.
album. What was that called?
Heartbeat City.
Heartbeat
Yes.
City.
Big album. Probably 3, maybe 4 huge hits off of that.
Angie Vesneski bought me that for my birthday, and I still have it. And I love you, Angie Vesneski.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to throw that out there.
Another artist that did a lot, and a lot of people don't like him. They know him as a one-hit wonder, but to me, they're much, much more. And it's the shirt I'm wearing, Devo.
Devo.
has a collection. They were art school type guys. They went to Kent State. They made these crazy videos. They believed in de-evolution, that the world is going backwards, which it probably is.
And I believe they're
People
right.
are
Well, that sounds
devolving.
about accurate today.
And there's a whole host of videos that they made. And
They
that never
were perfect for MTV.
We're through
right.
being cool. Girl You Want. You know all these videos. Whip It.
The early stuff, their cover of
Freedom of Choice. Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. I remember that one.
Herky Jerky. They were like
The Flippy Dude. Who was the Flippy Dude?
Spaz Attack.
Spaz Attack, who danced with Tony Basil.
wanna go
He
get
was
one
part of her.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour. We can probably leave.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go get a beer. You guys keep
You
talking.
guys just play it out. Go ahead.
You guys are amazing, man, with your knowledge of this stuff. It's incredible.
It's because we don't know important stuff.
We don't. And this is why
like we
we're-
don't change the oil in our vehicles, but we know this shit.
We know this shit, and this might get us. This might be my big break. Speaking of big breaks, let me segue into this.
All right. But before you do that, though, you're bringing up Devo, and it made me
I
want to
love-
ask you
I
guys a
love
question.
Devo.
I know you do.
I saw him live twice.
I'm not surprised by that. Because you see a lot of bands, especially bands that were big in that era. But let me ask you this.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I work.
good or bad that style became as important as substance with the explosion of MTV?
That's a 50-50 split, because you had a lot of bands with great videos that weren't great bands, and you had a lot of fantastic bands, amazing musicians that got not forgotten about, but
did it help or hinder the music industry that style became such an important part of it?
I think it
or did
saved
it just
the
keep it the
music
same?
industry.
Yeah.
Maybe not saved isn't the right term, but MTV, when we were 82, 83, 84 especially, that was it. It was the gospel of what we were listening to.
Sure.
Yeah.
It introduced us to artists we would have never heard of in a million years. I remember the summer of 84. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince owned MTV. And it was on. No matter what you were doing, you turned MTV on. It was your radio. It was on in the background. And you knew the videos, and you knew like Split Ends. You know, we never heard of Split Ends, but
I never would have heard of Modern English.
I'm not with you. I mean,
Right.
all those bands, and that stuff became incorporated into like soundtracks of movies.
Well, to jump into what you're asking, if you think about all the music before that, obviously it was focused pretty much solely on the music,
On the talent,
on
right?
the talent and the quality of the music
songwriting.
and the recording. Like I'm big in the audio recording.
Right.
When you think about what happened after that, there became a whole other element. There was a style to it. You had to look a certain way,
Right.
act a certain way, and then that just kept going and growing
Right.
and growing over the years. And now we have the internet.
It
and
got to the
YouTube
point
and-
where grunge had to happen because the substance
back a
abuse,
little bit.
really substance abuse in an ironic way of saying it. The style abuse. It became so bad because all of a sudden, especially with the hairband era, we had to have the right rouge on and the right hairspray,
Right.
And you know what I mean, and the right shade lipstick and the right. The spandex had to be perfectly torn for the camera shot, and
grunge pulled that back.
Yeah.
It overcorrected.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was a big thing. That was
I mean,
a
it put out
grunge.
shitty music,
that was a
but
grunge.
it did pull back on this.
That was a grunge slogan, like anti-corporate rock. They were so against, and they thought that was corporate rock because that was all manufactured. I love grunge, by the way. Nirvana's great.
So again, I asked.
I agree with you, by the
Did
way.
style hurt overall the talent?
Yes.
If
you only ask it that way, then
there
yes.
have always been famous people that don't write their own songs, don't play on their own songs. There's musicians that, drummers that isn't them drumming, guitar players that's not them playing guitar. That was not exclusive before MTV, but MTV made it worse.
Definitely
maybe
worse.
because you had to have the visual to go. Y&T is a perfect example of that. Y&T were a bar band from the Bay Area in San Francisco, fantastic rock band, one of my favorite bands of all time. But if you watch Y&T, like if you're familiar with them, they kind of went through that where like their original drummer Leonard Hayes kind of got kicked to the side because he was he wasn't a handsome dude. Okay, fantastic drummer. But they went with the flashy dude with the bigger hair and the double bass kit. They wanted them to be more video friendly.
A lot of decisions were being made, and band personnel, sound, and everything based on the image.
So worse for the musician. Now,
Yeah.
but the next question probably is that better for the consumer? It might have been better for the consumer, entertainment wise. I don't know. That's a question.
It was better for the bands, obviously, the artists. Michael Jackson wouldn't have had the career that he had without MTV.
Now, a live show, I think it raised the bar for live shows because when kids watch these videos, that's what they want to see when they come to the show.
Right.
So you got to bring the heat and you've got to have the flash
But look what
pods
that
and
has
all
turned
that.
into. It's gotten to the point where now you have to I don't want to say fake a lot of it, but you have to manufacture a lot of the show
Yes.
before it even goes on stage.
Yes.
And so it is turned into that.
Right.
Yeah,
So there's a
they
lot of
expect
backing
so
vocals.
much more.
Right.
Yeah. They expect
These
so much
big
more.
shows that I go to, like Roger Waters and The Who and stuff, that stuff, it's not all Roger Waters singing live.
yeah.
Well, they can't. Yeah.
It can't be. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But you're right,
'Cause
because
it's
it's, taken
at
to
one
a
point-
whole different level.
I said this before, but at one point they could. And
Yeah.
maybe now they can't quite hit
Right.
those same notes, and
They
a little bit
can't.
of help at least keeps them out on the road, and
Right.
you still give them some respect.
Look at the people that are famous for being in videos that aren't musicians. Tawny Katane.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tawny
right.
Katane was a
Absolutely.
huge star and was a B actress. Sorry, Tawny, I love you. No disrespect. But because
She
she
was hot,
danced
too.
on David Coverdale's Cars in the Whitesnake video, and
she
she'll
made a career out of
forever be
that.
burned into,
She made a career out of that. You're absolutely right.
And there were a lot of people. Courtney Cox was in a Bruce Springsteen video, dancing in the dark.
yeah.
She
He
danced
pulled
on
her-
stage with him. So stuff like that. There's,
Yeah.
it. it was great when it was great. But yeah, it's like anything else. It became a formula,
Right.
and then then it became a money making machine, and it
Well,
wasn't.
the corporate got a hold of it. I mean, it sunk its
Look
talons
at-
into it, and
the Flock of Seagulls tune, I
Iran so far
Okay.
away.
Still a popular song. We still play it.
Mm-hmm.
People love it, but that video
It's terrible.
is terrible. You can see the camera in the mirror.
Yeah, because it's spinning.
It's a room wrapped in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And it's those guys just like, but it's iconic because that was an example of you had a great song and the video played along with it. But there were a lot of songs that you remember the video. It's like like we talked about the movies that you remember for the soundtrack, and the movie wasn't that great, but the soundtrack saved it.
Soundtrack was amazing.
So it's kind of the same thing. There were a lot of songs that were saved because there was a hot chick in the video.
But there was a lot of good videos that were concert videos. Getting that,
Sure.
like David Lee Roth and Van Halen. Half their videos were like from where?
David
LA?
Lee Roth is a champion of MTV because he recognized that out of the gate, that you have to add that visual element to what you're
Absolutely.
doing. And say what you want about David Lee Roth, but Dave knew. Dave knew exactly what the hell
Those
he was
videos,
doing.
Just a Gigolo, all that stuff
Yep.
is fantastic.
Rose.
Yankee
Yep.
Rose. Just go look it up, man. It's good stuff.
Dave knew.
It's good
and those
cinema.
old concerts were staples on MTVs, like from Pasadena.
Yep.
When he was doing splits and stuff.
But I just want to say one quick thing too, and here's one of the reasons why I hate grunge music with such a passion. That the irony of grunge is that, as you said, they were anti-corporate, right?
Anti-corporate rock. Yeah.
But that movement would not have happened without MTV Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Right? Probably.
So it was the corporate machine that stopped the corporate machine.
Right.
In the sense that all that glam and glitter and glitz went away, but it was just another corporate image.
But it was also they're looking for what's next because the whole hairband thing was starting to really kind of run its course, and it was at the end. And
But the
what's
irony is
next?
the anti-corporate leaders, Nirvana, would not have had the success that they did if it wasn't for MTV and Smells Like Teen Spirit.
The thing that kills me about that,
then they got passed up because
Anytime-
that fell out of passion.
anytime there's a discussion about 80s music and the hair bands topic comes up, whether it's podcasts, documentaries, whatever, there's always that obligatory clip of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then grunge came. People don't think about hip hop.
Oh, you're
Hip-hop
right.
was huge
We've
back
hardly
then.
actually talked about hip
And
hop.
people just, you never hear anybody say anything about hip hop becoming huge at that time. Also, it's all grunge and it's all Nirvana. Hip hop was giant and still is.
and didn't let off. Grunge died a pretty quick death as well. but
Grunge died a
hip-hop
quick
kept
death
going.
because the talent wasn't there in
Right.
it. Because everybody sounded exactly the same and it was garbage.
And hip hop was right there. You mentioned downtown Julie Brown, and she had Club MTV, and you started hearing more Run DMC. Then you started getting your Boys to Men and
Public
those
Enemy.
vocal
Yeah,
groups
they
and stuff.
started-
Public Enemy, NWA. They all came in the scene too,
And they had
people,
Yo MTV raps, and that was a big deal with
Yo
Fab-
MTV Raps
with
was
Fab Five
huge.
Fred.
It was huge.
Right.
Huge.
And yeah, it was big. It was like a badge of honor to be on that show.
Yeah.
And
Will
no
Smith,
one-
I believe, was one of the first guests.
No one ever acknowledges the impact that hip hop and rap
You're
had
absolutely
on.
right.
Probably right.
And then there even became like the outlaw rap subgenre that became big, not through MTV, but because other rap artists were getting big, so it would start to trickle down. Like what was the three live crew or two live crew,
Live Crew,
whatever,
yeah.
with the
Them four.
whatever they were,
Your
but they were
Guns and
coming out with
Butter
real
and,
controversial stuff, and everything.
yeah,
and there were
yeah.
a lot of artists that started doing that, but hip hop took over, not grunge.
Yeah.
And it's still hip hop is still very huge to this day.
Yep.
Sad to say, but just my opinion. But anyway, so we're over the hour mark here, right?
we
We're-
done?
we should- but do you have any more quick notes?
Just a
Near
couple
the
quick
end.
notes. Just a couple quick stories. Like that Cher video. I know you're a big
If
fan.
I could turn back
yeah,
time,
I know you're a big
I
fan.
dressed up as Cher in college and won
Did you?
first place in the talent show.
But that was a
7
big
times.
Yeah, but that was a big deal because they let her film on an actual Navy ship, the USS Missouri. And the only reason they did that because the Navy didn't have an advertising budget, and they thought that'd be a promotional video to get people to join the Navy. And then she shows up in this Bob Mackie costume with hardly any underpants on, and you can.
Listen, to
And
this
she
day,
straddles a giant
I have
gun.
never been more confused in my entire life than when I first saw that video.
Yeah.
Because I was repulsed by Cher.
Yeah, me too.
And
was
then
her,
I was turned on by
But
Cher.
that
at the
was
same
her.
time.
If you look at her back catalog, she really had nothing. She was putting stuff out, but it was easy listening. This was like her reinventing herself.
Tina Turner.
by
Tina
dressing
Turner.
like a whore. Yeah.
Yeah, Tina Turner was another one. She was just with Ike all the time.
Yep.
Getting
and then,
beat on. And
Yeah. And then she was a MTV monster there
Oh,
for a while,
absolutely.
too.
What's love got to
I saw her in concert with Chicago. Speaking of Chicago, they had a very Stay the Night. Remember Stay the Night?
Stay the
They
Night
ran
was
an
huge.
Oldsmobile 442 chasing each other around a Los Angeles river. But that was Chicago's entry into MTV because they wanted an MTV video, but they weren't in an MTV band.
They were a weird band in the
And they
sense
were.
that they didn't fit in. Like,
But I
to
like
this
the early
day-
Chicago.
Well, to this day, I still don't understand how Phil Collins had such a huge MTV career because you talk about a guy who did not look like he belonged on MTV.
Right.
I mean, he
was
looked like
that
a
good.
shoe
Solo stuff.
salesman,
Yeah.
but he was great.
He's that
great
good.
songs.
It's very,
Genesis
very.
and Phil Collins, you couldn't watch
voice is
MTV.
different.
And
But my
not-
God, he had no style whatsoever. I mean, he looked like an insurance salesman.
That, which is exactly what we were just talking about. He was
Right.
that good that he didn't
Yeah.
need to look good to be
Right.
good. So
Very
God bless
few
you,
of
Phil.
those were able to break that barrier. Yep.
He's a big collector of Civil War artifacts.
Is
Did
he?
you know that?
Well, he is one himself.
His
so that
health
makes
is
sense.
not well.
He's
Phil's
about
not
dead.
good,
No.
right?
He is
Yeah.
about dead.
No.
Yeah, he's about dead.
Somebody said they saw him in concert, one of our friends, and they said it was really sad because
Yeah,
he
he can't-
sat
yeah.
he sat in the chair the
he has
whole
to sit
time.
down
He
the
looked
whole
like
time.
someone's grandfather just
like
screaming
me.
at clouds.
That No Jacket Required album
Yeah.
was a goddamn monster.
And somebody that talented, and I've been a fan of Phil Collins for a long time.
Yeah.
But he was always like a very depressed guy. He talked about it like on Howard Stern, a few other shows, or not Howard Stern. I think it was a different show actually. But to be that talented and to stand out that much, his voice was so different. Being a drummer, just a ton of talent,
Right.
And then to be like that unhappy, and then to die. This he's about dead. Like
He's
I said,
not dead.
He's
I'm
about.
not dead.
Look it up.
He's about
He
dead.
is about dead.
He's about dead.
He's just kind of
He's dipping his toe
That's
in
a
the
new
coffin.
a
To
new
not be
podcast.
happy.
Who's about dead? Dead and not dead.
to be that talented and not happy.
I
just
got one
drives me
last
nuts.
note.
Hurry up. Ben's got to poop.
What's that say?
The Real Worlds equals the end of MTV.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
That's what they say. I mean, that's what that book that I was reading. That's
Yeah.
what it ends on in '92. MTV wanted a soap opera
Mm-hmm.
because they said their demographics watch soap operas. So they had a soap opera in the works, but they found out it would cost between $300,000 and $500,000 an episode for scripting and locations and costumes. So they said, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's exploit some kids." So they got these 5 or 6 kids together. I never
Mm-hmm.
watched a single episode in my life, and they threw them in a flat.
It was terrible.
I'm proud to say that I've never seen an episode.
Same here. And-
Nor have I ever watched an episode of Jersey Shore.
Yep.
Never
or
watched that.
Teen Mom or
I
any
think
of
I
these
watched
god
Right.
awful.
I probably watched the first season or two of that.
They
I
said the
probably
first
did.
season
Of
is
Teen
really
Mom?
different than.
Of Teen Mom? Oh, Jersey Shore.
No,
Oh,
Jesus,
that.
I never,
Real
I never
World.
watched Jersey
And they said
Shore.
they paid these people
Like nothing.
$1,400 to do this show, but they got a free. One guy was super happy because he goes, "Hey, I got a free place to live and food." And then they felt bad for him after.
Well,
the
the
show,
one
and
guy
they gave him
became
jobs.
the one guy
with
on the
MTV.
show became a
Yeah.
VJ for
Yeah.
a while. He
Yeah.
was that real cut.
Right. They
kid
said
with dark hair.
They just felt bad for him.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And they said after the Real World, they start basically music programming stopped because
Yeah.
people were watching this.
It was well, and let's be honest, it wasn't for any other reason other than the fact that it was costing MTV next to nothing to air it.
Right.
And they were reaping the benefits, and
Right.
they were like, well, why bother hassling bands and going through all that crap to get videos? Let's
Right.
just put this garbage out.
And I
doesn't
believe-
cost us anything.
And I believe during the end that the record companies started, and it is
Sure.
true, they started wanting to know, they wanted royalties now because they were playing
right.
their music and MTV's making all this money. And that's why you guys can't play with, what is that, ASCAP or that?
BMI. ASCAP.
Yeah, BMI and ASCAP.
Yeah, you can't play certain songs.
Which is why we
supposed
can't play
to.
certain songs on our podcast.
The venue has
But
to
we
be
can
a
sing
member
them.
of those
Yeah.
Right.
organizations for.
You can
it's
play
a-
the
yeah.
venue.
It-
The venue pays a fee. You can
Right.
play pretty much anything.
They shot themselves in the foot doing that though, because look at YouTube now,
Right.
which is what I don't understand. Was back in the day, your goal was for your video to be seen on MTV, but now if somebody plays a snippet of your music, the lawyers go nuts and everything. That's stupid to me because you want people to hear your music and see those old videos.
Yeah.
Because some kid's going to go
It's going to pick it
try
up
and
at the
find
store.
that right.
Exactly.
Well, talk about how much times have changed. In the 80s, bands put out videos in the hopes that they would go sell their records and go see them live.
Right.
Now, bands have no choice but to go on tour in the hopes that people go see them live and then buy their new stuff. Like it's completely flipped.
The only way they
opposite
can
from what
make
it used
money
to
is
be.
on tour because
Right.
there's not much money on
they can't make
streaming
any
or-
money on streaming
They
and
say
everything
they
else.
don't make
It's a
money
joke.
on music anymore. They make money touring and selling T-shirts.
And merch. Yep.
Which is why Aerosmith is charging $700 for tickets for their 50th farewell tour, which
Never was
is
a fan.
shame.
And none of that's the artist's fault. That's all record companies inflating prices, whether it was CDs back in You think it's artists?
Kid Rock's on tour and he's charging $20 a ticket because he's like, I don't want to bilk my fans. He said, we know times are tough.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant like
Yeah, but I'm saying though, I think the bands could make
It's
a
the
stink
industry
about it.
that
that's not what I was referring
Right.
to. I'm talking about the band's not making any money any other way than touring. That's the only way they're making a
I know,
profit.
but I think Steven Tyler has enough money. I don't think
But you got to think about it. Let's say you're a band, okay, and you like. Let's use Van Halen as example because they're my favorite. But seriously, why make a new album?
Right. What's the
Because
point?
nobody wants to hear the new shit. They want to hear Jump in Panama.
Right.
You know what I mean? And buy the T-shirt and stuff. And you don't. You get like an eighth of a cent if somebody streams your song now because people don't have physical media anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't make money making music anymore. We probably do better as cover bands. Play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and I don't know. It's just strange to me. The whole Napster thing when that went down, I kind of laughed because the record companies that bilked us for all those years kind of got a little bit was coming to them.
Yep.
But
And that's
but
kind of what I was
MTV,
referring to.
yeah, it's well the same thing with MTV. It became about money and it became about TV shows and not music videos. And MTV, if you want a couple more bucks from me, man, put that classic streaming channel. They had the VH1 classic and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm talking put a channel out streaming. Those no rhyme or reason. Just go into the vault and jam the videos
Shuffle.
on.
Hit that shuffle.
I want to
button.
see
Adamant.
Adam, exactly. I want to see just
Adam
crazy.
Ant.
I want to see those Rod Stewart videos that I've never seen.
Listen
Do it,
to this. You're right, absolutely right. So I guess we can wrap this up by saying this. So MTV starts with Video Killed the Radio Star.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was it that ultimately killed the video channel?
The real world.
The real world.
Reality,
it really was.
TV.
Yeah.
Reality TV.
Reality
Yeah.
TV.
Took over.
Yeah.
And I would also say ridiculous rising costs in production. I think a lot of bands finally said, we can't afford this anymore, man. I mean, we're not. Whitesnake was spending like $1 million to make a videos, you know?
Well, if you think about it, we're talking about these reality shows starting. Mm-hmm. Well, the music that was popular when these reality shows were starting was the grunge and the not so visual bands.
Right.
So
all
at the
became
time,
about-
as far as MTV is concerned, that may have been the way to go because who wants to watch a guy in a flannel shirt stare at his shoes?
Right.
You know, I want to see David Lee Roth humping the giant inflatable microphone.
I agree with you.
Content was
100%.
disappearing.
Just me. So
In fact, I want to see that in my living room, but go ahead.
but I mean, it's like anything that's great. It's not going to last forever, and we were there for it. We were
like
there.
This show. This
and-
it should be about over, right?
Yeah.
But the kids got to get out and listen to Dire Straits
I agree.
and the Pretenders and all those great old bands. Watch those early MTV videos that Evan's talking about. And
Go to
discover
YouTube.
those
Step ahead.
bands.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube, right?
Go to YouTube.
Watch that first 2 hours. It's on YouTube. It's fascinating.
MTV there's a channel. It's the MTV Classic.
Yeah, you don't want
channel.
that.
I
That's
don't-
corporate rock, man.
That's gay.
Corporate rock sucks. We don't. What'd you say?
really does.
Nothing. I said that's not. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to delete that.
You can't say it. I mean, we used it as a
It's
term
a
of
very happy channel. Got it.
It's a very happy channel.
Ben, I wanted
That's
to-
going to be the first time
There's
we're going
one
to
more
have to
thing. I
delete
just wanted
something.
to remember to tell you that Hit and Run, Jessup Boat Club, July 22nd.
Nice.
Speaking of corporate rock.
who is those guys?
Oh, they're a bunch of old guys that
Right.
play
They're
rock
awesome.
and roll.
I bet
And
you-
Scattered Hamlet, 123 Pleasant Street, July 15th.
Yes.
Forgive me if that's
Morgantown,
wrong.
West Virginia.
Listen, support Jode, local appearance of our boy, 123 Pleasant, historical club down
Used
there.
to
Our
be
boy
the
Jode has
Underground
been on the
Railroad.
show a lot, and we want to support him, and we wish him and
Get
his
out
band.
there, support local bands, support local music.
Awesome. So listen, we want to, guys. I want to thank you once again. Before we do that, don't forget to go to Apex Giant, www.apexgiant.com. Get your minimalist wallet there, Evan.
Get it.
I like my green eel skin wallet.
I don't. You
No.
got to get the minimalist wallet. You got to get it. It's awesome. Lifetime warranty,
There it is.
made in Greene County,
If he makes
Pennsylvania.
If he makes it out of eel skin,
Look at
I'll
that.
buy
Look
it.
at that.
Look at all the. That is chock
got
full
a
of
lot of-
plastic, my
Listen,
friend.
Ben will tell you.
None of them work.
This is no joke.
Same
Ben,
as
this is
mine.
no joke. Ben will tell you that he has chiropractors telling him that they're good for you, because a lot of guys wear those big, bulky, heavy wallets
Yeah.
in their back,
Yeah.
in their back pocket. It can cause back problems.
A herniated disc.
Sure.
My wallet falls out of my scrubs at work all the time. And
So
the
there you
kids-
go.
I lost it in the ambulance the other night too.
Lifetime warranty, made right here in the good old USA.
Greene County, even.
Minimalist wallet, Apex Giant, www.
Who says Greene County ain't got smart people?
Yeah, right.
Do
Ben is one.
we got Ben and Farley?
Oh, let's go
Okay,
get an
let's
ice
end
cream.
on that one right there. So, guys, wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait,
I thought it was sorry.
Did we get to do that?
we got to do a dad joke.
Oh God.
All right.
Okay.
I'm wrapping this up with a dad joke.
Do it.
We're all going to watch Ben laugh hysterically at this one. So I read a story online recently about a cow. A cow
Okay.
that was knighted in the UK by the Queen.
A cow.
A cow.
Okay.
They named him Sirloin. Hey, on that note,
The dad joke.
I didn't know that button did that. Watch. I didn't know that.
I didn't know you
I hit
could
it
do
by
that.
accident.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. It's perfect.
I hope
Hey,
we did
guys.
well.
Thank you once again for coming. Evan, Chip, Ben, I'm Steve. Talk 80s to me. We shall return. Hope you enjoyed it.
Presley, Doo Doo loves you.
Oh, my.
Bye-bye.